Hey everyone, this is Bridget, and today I wanted to tell you 2 ghost stories of mine, my personal experiences, so that you can understand more about earthbound spirits, about ghosts, how to engage with them, how to understand them, how to not engage with them, so that you can feel really comfortable, especially around this time of Halloween, in connecting with the other realm. So let's get into the first story. So the first story comes to you from quite a long time ago. Many of these stories come from years ago for me, because that was the time I was more connected to this realm. Now I choose to be connected to a bit higher frequencies, and these frequencies aren't as high, but they still are relevant. They still come around. They're still a part of this reality, so they're still important to understand. The first story is from my spiritual training, one of my spiritual intuitive trainings from I think like 7 or 8 years ago now in San Diego. And so a part of the training, amongst many other things that I still use today, was to connect with earthbound spirits, and particularly to help them into the light if they were attached to people and that kind of thing. And so one of the days after our training, I think it was actually the Earthbound Spirit Day, which is crazy, we went back to the property we were staying at, and I had a roommate that was from England, and she was very amazing, magical, and she talked about how she would go to the castles and connect with different spirits, and they'd be friends with her and stuff like that. And at that time, it was a very open evening, and so we opened the door, and that was symbolic. Now, they can move through walls, so they can still navigate. But the idea is the door was open, so the energy invitation was there. And we were talking and just open, and then all of a sudden, I saw her look at the door, and I felt something at the door at the exact same time. So it was this confirmation that we both felt a non-physical energy, something going on over there. And so we tuned in, and we're like, did you feel that? Yeah. Did I feel that? Oh my gosh, what's going on? And we tuned in, and we're like, okay, well, what do we do? And we felt 1 energy, 2 energies, 3 energies come into the room. And they felt nice, like it wasn't scary or weird. And then we felt almost this childlike energy. And soon we're all of a sudden, dousing, and I'm automatic writing actually with these spirits, because we had just been in the training, so we're primed and ready to go. And these 3 little girls came in, and we started connecting with them. And they told us that they had been killed on this property. And they'd been killed, they gave us the exact year, like 1980s or something like that. And the property itself definitely was on the creepier side, so I can sense that would happen. And they got killed, they said that they got killed by a priest, something like that. And we're like, okay, again, not judging the information as it comes in, just receiving it and getting to assess later. So experiencing all of this, and they wanted to be with us. They just wanted to sit with us because I don't think they had been acknowledged, and they were young. And so after a certain amount of time, it was time for them to move on. And so we helped them into the light by just holding a beautiful light container, calling in the angels, and assisting them into the other realm, which is simpler than you think, and just opening that space of love, and that entry really does do wonders. So after that, we sat down and just took in the experience of what had just happened, and both of us were going, was this real? But then we had each other to validate that it was, which is always nice and helpful, because at that time I was quite skeptical, because I was just getting into all of this and deciding if it was real to me or not. And so these experiences really helped me. And so I sat down and I went, I wonder if I Googled, murder in this place in this year, if something will come up. And I did, and it did. There was a rumor of murder and kind of weird things going on at that time with little kids on that property at that time. And I'm just going, what? Google validated, historically that this was actually true, which blew my mind and was very validating for me. So that was a very profound and special experience, especially to help little kid spirits across. So that was one of the more benevolent engagements that I had. And sometimes they're not so benevolent. And this leads us to story number 2, which was with my friends, 2 of my friends from high school in Salt Lake City. And one of the things that happens if people are oriented to taking drugs or medications or open to a lot of psychedelics or those kinds of things is that the portals in their astral field open, and it attracts entities to be with them, to be in their field or actually be attached. And so in this particular case, one of my friends was married at the time to a guy that was an addict. And it was a wild thing, and we're just sitting there in our house and enjoying each other and not paying attention. You know, like I'm not going around every house and just going, like, what's the energy in here? Is there something going on? You know, that does tend to happen to some people, but for me, I'm just going, okay, I'm just holding my field, and it's not super relevant to be in that space all the time. So I was just enjoying, and we were talking about this, and both of them are quite sensitive and have all of these capacities. So we were talking about that a bit, and I could feel some energies around, but I wasn't paying attention to that much. And then all of a sudden, my friend felt an energy behind her grab her by the waist, and she screamed, and we were just all completely freaked out because there was no one there. But this energy had manifest actually like as a poltergeist, which I'm going to be talking more about in next week's video on clearing spaces, clearing homes and environments, and was, you know, freaking out, this being, and we're just like, oh my God, it's happening. And so in this moment, I transitioned instantly into facilitator mode, even though I was scared, because it was pretty intense that it manifests to such a degree. One of the things that does happen is if you're attuned to this frequency, and you can assist in this way, it will kind of ruffle feathers of certain beings, because they'll know that you're there, and one, they know that you can help them, and then on the other case, it's like that space is taken for them, and so they can get a little bit irritated at that. And so anyways, I think that's one of the reasons that this happened in this case, is because it knew that we knew about this thing, and it was going to kind of be seen. So we did see it, and I instantly worked on, and I instantly moved into this space as well of holding light and holding this frequency of love and going, okay, like, we can help you to, and saying, we can help you to the light. Is that something that you'd be interested in? And while at the same time being completely freaked out. And the being said no. The being was very non-cooperative, and I had never run into that, and I wondered what to do. And so at this point I just felt and thought, and I said, well, it doesn't have to go into the light, but it just no longer is appropriate for it to be with us. And so I went over to the front door, and I opened the front door, and I said, now you must leave. You can continue on and not go into the light, but you cannot be with us anymore. And it did. And it moved through the door, and all of us felt the room instantly lift and drop into a more peaceful space. And we were all baffled and completely freaked out. And now it's running rampant on the streets of Salt Lake City. So sorry, guys. But in some of those cases, it's meant to. Like, there's still a reason that it is meant to be on Earth to play out or to understand certain frequencies before it moves into the light. So that was more of the benevolent side of what you can experience with spirits, which is more on the rare side. Sometimes they can be grumpy at first, but usually you can get them to cooperate and work with you and move on. So this is just in the realm of earthbound spirits, because there's a lot of different other kinds of entities and beings in the spirit world. But just to get a grasp, a little bit of an idea on the energies of ghosts or earthbound spirits in this time of the thinning of the veil for Halloween. So you can tune into that and see if any are meant to go, and you can serve them, and anything you need to clear out, or it's something that you don't have to go chasing, and you can just stay in a place of light and just understand this concept from a distance. So I hope that that's been helpful for you. You can comment below any experiences or stories or questions that you may have, and be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell button so you continue to get notifications of my new videos. I was wondering about doing this topic, and you guys on Instagram said yes to this topic, so I made the video. So if you want to participate in those polls and see more daily updates, please go check me out on Instagram. And I will see you next week with a new video on clearing spaces so that the energy can be uplifting in your home and on your land space. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.